now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. We're brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. We will talk Saints with Luke Johnson coming up in 15 minutes from right now. We'll hear some sound from Brian Kelly, who met with the Rotary Club yesterday. Saints have a new member of their Ring of Honor. We've got me. We talked about them all. But I will tell you, I have more pep in my step today entering the show than I have probably since Regional Friday, quite honestly. Maybe, yeah, they had a Monday game. So the Monday of the Regional back in June, I was fired up. I'm not that fired up today, but I am fired up. I'm more fired up than I was at any point in July because I went out to practice today, was able to actually take in some things. I can relay some information to you. And we can really talk about this LSU football team in earnest as opposed to picking apart preview magazines and watch lists and all those things that we'll continue to do throughout August for sure. But the Tigers are actually on the field. And now it feels like it's real. And it feels like the dearth of summer. Get your affairs in order. But football will not watch it, but LSU is on the practice field, and I've got plenty of things that I took in today on the Ponderosa. Matt was out there. He'll have more in-depth on the offense on his show. I took some of his notes. We chatted a little bit after practice, but he took in a lot of offense. I took in a lot of defense. We'll probably switch that up over the next couple of days so that we can both kind of get a good feel for what things are happening on both sides of the ball. Brian Kelly did meet with the media, so I can add a little bit of color to what I saw out there. But it was warm, and it started off not so great. Not from LSU's football perspective, but from a media perspective. They had a new place for us to watch practice from, which was up on the patio of the new Players Lounge. And it was shaded, which was really nice. And it was elevated, which could be good to see a little bit more. But there was a huge tent in the way where the players cool off, and there wasn't a lot of room. And I was looking at this going, this is going to be really bad. And for some reason, we were told to go up there, and then 5 minutes into practice, somebody walked up and said, y'all get off this patio. You're not supposed to be here. So we went back down on the field where we've always been, and it was back to normal. And it was about 10, 15 degrees warmer where we were standing, but we could see a little bit more because there wasn't a huge tent obstructing the view. So I assume we'll be down there for the rest of media. Let's talk about I was standing there, I saw 25, and I checked my roster sheet, and I saw two 25s, Javian Toviano and Trey Holly. Well, I was 100% sure it was not Trey Holly because Trey Holly doesn't have that build. Trey Holly's short and stout. This was a long, lean defensive back. I'm going, is Toviano out here? And I tapped Sonny Ship on the shoulder, and I pointed, and I said, that's not some walk-on like that. Is that him? And Sonny was like, I think so. And it was, because Brian Kelly said after practice today that Javier Toviano has been cleared and he's going to go through workouts with the team. Now, I saw the first team defense out there. I saw the second team defense out there. I saw the team going through individual drills. Javier Toviano did not do very much. He was kind of off to the side for the majority of what they did. Now, he was going station to station and had all his gear on, and he's out there, but he wasn't fully participating at this point, and I think that's to be expected. But he was out there, which is encouraging from a football perspective. We'll see what happens in a court of law. From a football perspective, he's out there. Zay Alexander was also out there. That was what I told you would be kind of the first thing I checked on when I got out to camp. And he was out there. But he had a huge brace on his knee, big brace. This was not like a sleeve. He had a brace on his knee, and he was not going through the drills. We saw the defense go very, very light 11 on 11. We saw the defense play some 7 on 7. We saw the defense do some individual things. We saw the defense do any number of, for today, contact, and for the purposes of the drills, not contact. And Zy Alexander didn't do much of any of it. So the notion that Zy Alexander is a full go for camp is wrong. He's not a full go for camp. This is a guy who tore his ACL in the Army game last year and is not ready to go. Now, we still have a month before they play in Vegas. And last year, I told you yesterday that I was going to check on Zy Alexander's health, and I was kind of comparing him to Armani Goodwin last year, the running back who was dealing with knee injuries. And Armani Goodwin was doing the drills. He just had a really, really noticeable limp. I did not see a noticeable limp on Zy Alexander moving place to place. He just wasn't really doing the drills. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I'm not an orthopedic. I don't know where he is in the progression. I just know that he's not ready to go right now. And that's a bummer for LSU. And that kind of brings me into the depth chart, which is where I'll start today on the defensive side. I can give you basically the ones and twos from what we saw. There was a little bit of rotation, but in essence, you saw the ones and the twos. Now, keep in mind, this could mean these are the guys that are going to play against USC, and it could mean these are the guys who know where to go on the first day of camp and can set the example. I'm not going to read too much into it. I'll just tell you what we saw. On the defensive line for the first team, you saw Savion Jones and Deshaun Womack on the ends. You saw Gio Paez and Jacobian Guillory at tackle. I told you yesterday one of the things I was curious about, who is going to be next to Jacobian Guillory at defensive tackle? You've got a number of options, and all of them come with question marks. Gio Paez has played end and not very much at Wisconsin. JVR Suggs has played tackle at Division II. Dominic McKinley is a freshman. Sean Washington is a junior college player. Jalen Lee is a career reserve. There are questions among every single defensive tackle you can bring up. Even Guillory, but he's going to be a starter. I kind of thought Paez would be the first guy out there. He was. Now, he's bulked up. I've got him now. He is listed at, let's see if I can find him quickly. I can. 6'3", 305. He's bigger than he was last year playing defensive end mostly for Wisconsin. And he knew, he came on after further review when he transferred and said, look, I'm going to play inside when I get to Baton Rouge. And he was out there. Those were the first two defensive tackles. Braden Swinson was not at practice today. So no Braden Swinson on the edge of this defense. The linebackers were Greg Penn and Harold Perkins. Those were your two linebackers with the first team. And Major Burns was on their level. We understand that Major Burns is going to play that star position. And when you saw the defense kind of set up in its full unit, he was playing on the same level as the linebackers, and a lot of it was moving downhill. He covered some running backs in the flat, covered some tight ends in the flat, went downhill, and played some in the screen game. That's kind of Major Burns' role. When you look at the corners, you had Ashton Stamps, which I expected. You realize that you don't have Toviano and you do not have Zy Alexander. Sage Ryan was the other corner on the first team. Now, Brian Kelly addressed that today at his press conference and said Sage is going to cross-train. And they have a lot of options at corner. I have said this a lot over my previewing the team during the summer months. I don't know if they have anybody that's a first-team All-League player, but they got a lot of dudes. And they've got P.J. Woodland, and they got J.K. Johnson, and Jair Brown, and Juwan Johnson, and Zy Alexander, and Javian Toviano, and Sage. They got a lot of dudes. Sage Ryan was with the first team at corner. I do not believe that suggests that Sage Ryan is your day one cornerback. I do suggest that he's in a better position mentally to know where to play with Zy Alexander and Javian Toviano out of the lineup. So that's where he was. He was playing at the cornerback spot. The safeties, Jordan Gilbert was out there and Jordan Allen was out there. I also saw a couple of reps where Juwan Johnson played safety with the first team, but mainly Jordan Gilbert and Jordan Allen. So your first team defense today, Savion Jones, Gio Paez, Jacobian Guillory, and Deshaun Womack. Greg Penn and Harold Perkins. Then you had Major Burns, Sage Ryan, Ashton Stamps, Jordan Gilbert, and Jordan Allen. That's kind of your first group. The second group, when they went out there, Paris Shand and Gabe Relaford were on the ends. I have more to talk about with Gabe Relaford later on in the show. They did some one-on-one pass rush drills, and Relaford really shined in that portion of practice. But Paris Shand and Gabe Relaford were on the ends. At defensive tackle with the twos was Kimo Makaniole and Sean Washington. Those two guys were running with the twos. The linebackers were West Weeks and Whit Weeks. Kalaj Cobbins also played some linebacker with that group. Kalaj Cobbins really looks the part, and I think has a good camp in front of him. That meant that at the corner you had J.K. Johnson and P.J. Woodland. You also saw Juwan Johnson out there a little bit, and the safeties were Kylan Jackson and Deshaun Spears. Very impressed with Deshaun Spears physically. That's if you're going, who the hell is Deshaun Spears? Deshaun Spears changed his name in the offseason, and now I'm blanking on what it was. It was Deshaun right here, and it just didn't come to me. But he's Deshaun McBride. There it is. Deshaun McBride was his name entering when he was signed. Now Deshaun Spears, very impressive physically. So again, that is not set in stone. That is written in sand as far as the depth chart goes. But the big stories, I think, that you can actually take something from today, Javian Toviano with the team. That surprised me. Zy Alexander, brace on the knee, not ready to go. And Braden Swinson not with the team today. That was too strongly worded. He wasn't at practice today. Summer school is still going on. Injuries can happen. Stomach bug can happen. Any number of things can happen with Braden Swinson. I did not hear Brian Kelly say anything about that today. If I find out, via Twitter or whatever the case may be, why Swinson was not there today, I'll pass that along. I left after practice to go take a shower and come do the show. Matt was there for BK's press conference, and he will have all of Brian Kelly's sound at his disposal for AFR coming up in an hour and 50 minutes. But that is what I took away from the depth chart. I do have a couple other things that I want to talk about at the end of in the middle of the second hour. I do want to talk about pass rush one-on-ones as well as who they had out there returning punts, which I found very, very interesting. We'll do some Meet the Freshman with Joel Rogers and PJ Woodland. And then we got some BK sound from Rotary yesterday, and I'll kind of add some of what I saw at practice with some BK. If you're looking for offense, I have a little bit of that to share with you, but I spent most of the day with the defense. Me and Matt thought it would be best from two perspectives if we split up. One, we can actually watch everything in depth. And two, it splits our shows up. I'm going to talk more about defense today. If you're one of those that's going to listen to me, listen to Matt on demand, live, whatever the case may be, and you don't want the same thing regurgitated over and over again, you're going to catch two very different things from me and Matt a little bit later on today. He's going to do a lot more with the offense. Sounded like, just give you a tease for Matt's show, just a little tease. Sounded like a pretty good day for Trey Green. And I will tell you that I saw him in person, and he is freakishly large. And if he puts on 15 pounds over the next 2 years, it's going to be a real problem for anyone playing defense at any position to kind of deal with his size and athleticism. He is a freak. So it was great to get out there and see some practice today. We'll talk about more of that coming up in 15 minutes. But we'll go out to Irvine here in the next segment. Going to talk some Saints with Luke Johnson. They've got a new Ring of Honor member and what he's seen over the last week in training camp. Luke Johnson talking Saints coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions. It's there online at avssla.com. I give you Mitchell Fisher's cell phone every day because that's the kind of customer service you're going to get with Audio Video Security Solutions. You're not going to reception or recorded message and getting a call back the day and 2 days later. You get the owner of the company. It's a small company. It's a local company, and they're here to give you A-plus customer service with your audio, with your video, with security. Mitchell's cell is 225-439-7920. If you're looking to make your home the place to watch the games this fall, there's no call you need to make before Audio Video Security Solutions. They can provide you with a television, mount that television, put all your surround sound together, make the remote very simple to use for your smart televisions. He's got us hooked up with a remote that has all the apps right there on the screen, and I just scroll through and push what I'm looking for, whether it's Netflix, HBO Max, ESPN Plus, my MLB app. They're all right there on the same remote. He's made it so easy at our house, and it sounds fantastic. If you need some help with your home entertainment system, Mitchell Fisher and his team at Audio Video Security Solutions can help you out. Check them out on Instagram. It always gives a great indication of some of the great work that they do in our Baton Rouge community. The Instagram handle is AVSS_BR, and you can always find them online. It's Audio Video Security Solutions at AVSSLA.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
The best. Charles Hanniger, join us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch. We're at Rafino's on Highland Road. Troy Macker is with us, Bruce Marshall, Scott Rabelais from Paris, and it's day 2 of LSU camp. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Shout out to Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. You're doing your weekend grocery shopping, make it Rouse's. You can do it on your app. Makes shopping so easy. You don't have to go in the store. You just do all your shopping right there. Your personal shopper goes in, picks it all up. You drive up right in front of the front door. They drop it right in the back seat. You're on your way. You don't spend an extra cent if you spend $35 with the folks over at Rouse's. And with groceries, that's pretty easy to do. So check out Rouse's and download that app. I got an offer for you here. If you want to talk some football or hear about some of the things that we saw at camp today, Matt is doing his show from the Renaissance here in Baton Rouge on Bluebonnet. He'll be there from 3 to 6, and I'll be there as well after my show ends. I'll probably be rolling in there around 4 o'clock. If you want to come by from 5 to 7, have some cocktails and talk some football, we'll be there. Matt's doing AFR from the Renaissance, as I mentioned, right there in Tallulah, their restaurant and bar area, which is always a great place to grab a cocktail. And he's got some exciting things to talk about today. So we'll all be out at Tallulah today, taking in AFR and talking a little football and having a cocktail, which should be an enjoyable time. Let's go to the Brian Kelly sound from Rotary back from yesterday as we're trying to hook up with Luke, who's out in Cali. Maybe able to get to him here in 15 minutes. He talked about this being the best summer training he's seen in 15 years, which at this point in the calendar, you can get some real coach speak. But I haven't taken Brian Kelly to be a super he used a ton of hyperbole. Like, he's generally been pretty honest, and he was obviously pretty impressed with the way the team went through workouts this summer.
This summer put together one of the best that I've seen in probably 15 years of training, commitment. When you talk about football teams and what you expect from them, you expect personal accountability to each other, and doing that on a day-to-day basis. This is one of the most accountable football teams that I have seen in my time as a head football coach going on 33 years. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to win the national championship. I'm sorry. But I will tell you, those are great things that lead to championship teams.
Look, he's got his feet on the ground here. Coaches that take over new jobs, especially when coaches have been fired, deal with really, really drastic situations in college athletics now. Not just football, basketball, baseball. I mean, we saw what Matt McMahon inherited. Any sport you take over because of the athlete's ability to leave right when their coach is gone, it can be tough. And trying to implement your way of doing things with a brand new roster that's being turned over with such force every single year can be difficult. But the scholarship situation appears to be in really good shape. And Brian Kelly talked about where they are after having taken over a group that you understand was right around 50 scholarship players when he got here.
You know, we have 85 scholarships. We have 84 of the 85 on scholarship. So we have one out there. So if anybody wants to come out and try out, we're looking for somebody a little taller, not younger. You look good. But 84 of the 85. So we feel really good about that. And then the medical piece, right? The health of this football team is outstanding. So that's really good.
And I would echo that after having seen today. I don't know what the deal is with Braden Swinson. Zy Alexander was not a full go, but they appear to be pretty healthy as they enter fall camp. Everyone wants to talk about defense. They want to talk about defense. They want to talk about defense. They want to talk about defense. And Brian Kelly spoke to kind of the development of what they're trying to accomplish in Blake Baker's first year.
I am really excited about not only, Blake Baker and the staff that we brought in on defense. I'm excited about the players that we have developed and now have an opportunity to really show themselves this year.
And that's good that he's excited. He knows a lot more than me. I'll be honest with you. I'm not here to blow smoke or sunshine pump. I'm here to tell you kind of what I think. Like, I look at that first team depth chart I saw today. Savion Jones hasn't accomplished much. Gio Paez was back up at Wisconsin. Jacobian Guillory's been a backup his whole career. Deshaun Womack's a sophomore that hadn't done much. Greg Penn's been an average player. Harold Perkins could be a star. Major Burns has been okay. Sage Ryan's been okay. Ashton Stamps was okay last year. Jordan Gilbert, nice SEC safety. Jordan Allen hadn't done anything. Juwan Johnson hadn't done anything. I mean, that's your first team defense. Outside of Braden Swinson, who was pretty good pass rusher at times last year, but has never been an all-conference type player, and he's been in college for 4 years. So it's not a group that I look at and go, oh man, that could be a first-team all-league guy. That could be an All-American. That guy could be a first-round pick. I don't see that on this defense. That doesn't mean they can't get better. They better get better. They better be better than they were last year. They better have a better coordinator and better development. And it's not like they're young and have no chance. But I look at the defense and I go, okay, I need to see it. That's going to be my approach today, and it's going to be my approach when they play USC. And I preview that game on Friday from right here in this chair that week. So we'll see. Defensive line depth has been something that we've talked a lot about. I think they have a ton of depth. I just don't know if they have high-level players. And Brian Kelly spoke to the depth across the defensive line.
A defensive line that at many times last year people talked about the inability for them to hold up. You're going to see, I think, the kind of depth and a number of players that got a chance to play a little bit last year that this year will really come into their own from a defensive perspective. And I'm excited to watch them play for us and continue to show.
We'll see. They've brought in as much as they could bring in with those defensive linemen, and they're probably going to have to cycle them through. And quite frankly, as I look at it, like, I don't know how much you can expect from a guy like Dominic McKinley. Like, you're talking about a true freshman. I don't know how much you can expect from Jalen Lee. Just hasn't played really at all in 3 years of SEC football. You're going to need Jacobian Guillory and Gio Paez to elevate and play at a level that they have not played at in their careers. Like, that's just going to happen. That's not impossible. You've got a really good defensive line coach. They're old players who were strong young men. They're going to need to play better than they've ever played. And that's kind of where you are with it. And with that defense coming along, this is something I think you're going to hear Brian Kelly say a lot of, because it was a frame that he talked about on media days a few times, and he brought it up again at the Rotary Club, and it's about being more balanced. Last year, it was track meet after track meet after track meet after track meet. There was no balance. The offense was here, the defense was here. And if you're not watching on YouTube and you're listening, you know how far apart my hands are. The offense and the defense were not close, and he talked about being a little bit more balanced this time around.
Offensively, defensively, special teams, all together, this will be a better football team on balance. And in this league, you better be. It's an incredibly deep league in the SEC, and a schedule, as you know, that we start off in Las Vegas.
And all this said, with the defense and being more balanced, and me looking at the defense and not seeing a ton of pros and not seeing a ton of first-team All-Americans and not seeing the Thorpe Award winner and all that, I've also been very upfront about this. We're in a different era. We're in a different day today than we were this time last year. This time last year, you had to be in the top 4 to play for a championship. Go back 15 years, you had to be in the top 2. That's not the case anymore. You've got to be in the top 12. So you've got a better chance of making the playoff, even if there are some issues with your team. And I think there are issues right now, but the perspective changes when you understand that you don't have to be perfect. And Brian Kelly spoke about what it's going to take for his team to make the college football playoff.
Last year, we were 9-3 in the regular season. We would have been just on the outside looking in. So I think if you look at it in the perspective of where you need to be one of those 12 teams, 9-3 was probably not good enough to get in. You're probably going to need to be a little bit better than that. And maybe don't give up 50-something points to one of your teams that you play, and you're in the playoffs. And we don't plan on doing that again.
There you go. Simple enough. As he basically said it there, 10-2 is what you're looking for. And we'll see if Missouri's 10-2 this year gets them in. If they do that, like, that wouldn't have a real big win. And last year, Georgia didn't have a real big win, and they got left out. I'm happy to come on here and say that I've been proven wrong if an SEC team goes 10-2 and doesn't get in. But as I sit here right now and kind of handicap the situation and look at the league, look at the conference champs, understand that one of the conferences is gone, and kind of look at the landscape of college football, I think 10-2 is good enough. And that's kind of got to be the goal. And that's a more comfortable thing to talk about and a more comfortable position to be in as you look at this team relative to its schedule, that, hey, you don't have to go 12-0. You don't have to go 11-1. You can get there at 10-2, and I think that's a good thing. The last thing that I wanted to bring up from Brian Kelly at Rotary Club, and you've heard a couple of good, humorous sound bites from him as he kind of play into the room, and he's pretty good at that. He talked about LSU attendance in Las Vegas.
Anybody going to Las Vegas? We got 2 people. Good. All right. We should really scare USC then. Maybe we can get the band to come. All right. That's 8.
He's got 8. I promise there will be more than 8. Based on Twitter, message board conversations. I mean, I know of 2 that are going. My parents are going, so that's 2. I think LSU have a really, really good contingent out there in Las Vegas. I know the alumni's got a packed trip. It looks like they'll be at the Mandalay Bay, and they'll be right across the street from the stadium. If you're heading to Vegas, that's going to be a really, really exciting trip, and hopefully it's better than the trip to Green Bay, and it's better than the trip to the Rose Bowl, because while those were historic trips and incredible sightseeing experiences for a lot of people, when I went to Green Bay, it was fantastic. until they kicked it off and Les tossed it to Leonard Fournette and tossed it to Leonard Fournette and handed it to Leonard Fournette and punted, and I wanted to go claw in a hole. I think that LSU is going to be really well represented in Vegas. It should be a heck of a trip, and hopefully the season gets started off on the right foot. We got to talk some Saints. We'll do that coming up next here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You're looking to get into the bathroom of your dreams, the closet of your dream. There's one call you make. It's One Bath and Closets. That's it. David Duvall and his team. I can promise you this with David and his team. It's not a situation where you contract them to come in. They get the job done as quickly as possible to get to the next job and collect the next check. And something goes wrong, they come back 3 weeks later, they tidy it up, patch it up, and maybe they come back another time to fix. No, that's not going to happen. They're going to do it right the first time, and they'll leave the competition behind. It's One Bath and Closets. Look, they can do a full-scale renovation. They can do something small. Tub-to-shower conversion is something they do all the time in bathrooms. If you've got an old, dingy tub, it's kind of got some imperfections to it, and you don't use it, put that gorgeous glass walk-in shower in. Add some value to your home, changes the look of your bathroom, changes the functionality of your bathroom, and you can get $1,000 off. You tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you to One Bath and Closets. If you go to the website, you can get the free consultation. You can get the reviews, so they're satisfied customers. You can get the pictures of their great work. It's all there at OneBathAndClosets.com, OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Jari and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR from Tallulah inside the Renaissance Hotel. LSU opens up fall camp. I'll be in that number. We'll have a full camp report for you. So join us 3 to 6, 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
LSU cranked things up on the Ponderosa today. Fall camp underway. The Saints taking their first day off of training camp out in Irvine, California. Sharif Ishak from WDSU has been there every step of the way, and since the Saints are off, Sharif's sitting down watching TV doing a bunch of nothing, so we called him, and now he's going to talk to us. Sharif, how's your day off going?
I'm on the patio enjoying 75, partly cloudy. First day I've seen a cloud, watching Simone Biles and Suni Lee win gold and bronze in the women's all-around, and it's just a good day.
It was not 75 on LSU's practice field today.
I'm sure it was like 105.
It was quite toasty, but that's okay. I don't really complain about heat, although it was warm. I got a good lather going. It sounds like the last couple of days have gotten a little chippy at Saints camp. What do you make of that?
Yeah, and anytime you throw the pads on, things get chippy, chirpy, and physical, and that's what we've seen since Monday. I think yesterday was, the longest, the most chippy, chirpy, physical practice so far in this training camp. The one-on-ones were awesome between Alontae Taylor and Chris Olave. They went against each other 4 times, and Olave got beat 4 times, 3 out of the 4 times. So Taylor had 3 PBUs, a lot of trash talking going on. It was friendly trash talking. Had a few curse words in there from each guy, but they were very friendly. But it was good. Those one-on-ones are always the best, I think. I'd much rather watch corners and receivers go against each other in one-on-ones and watch sometimes the 7-on-7s because it's just a little more competitive, a little more handsy. You get I think, a bigger, barometer there.
Who do you think's right now the number 3 receiver?
Oh, man, it's a good one. I would think it's close. I think Cedric Wilson's probably the number 3 guy behind Chris and Rashid right now. He's had a decent camp, but it's a big drop-off after that, man. It really is. Like, a lot of inconsistencies going on. And the undrafted rookie from Yale, Mason Tipton, he's been pretty good. I mean, he has a chance to make the team, but I wouldn't say he is top 4 or 5 right now. He's playing like it, but I wouldn't. When it comes down to it and it's all said and done, I wouldn't say top 4 or 5, but he's going to have a chance to sneak onto that roster. But to me, it's those 3 guys right now. And then you have, A.T. Perry battling, Bub Means battling, Equanimous St. Brown. So it's just, I want to see somebody take hold 3, 4, 5. I'm just waiting for those guys to take hold. And maybe it comes here in the next, 2 weeks.
Is Nick Saldiveri on the verge of losing his spot? Has he lost it?
Look, man, yesterday they were playing rotating left guard. Saldiveri is hurt. He has a calf injury, so he hasn't been playing last few practices. And they're just running guys in there. They're just it's just been a revolving door at left guard, and that's not good, Hunt. I mean, you're already dealing with Trevor Penning trying to learn to play right tackle, which I think he's playing decent. I'm not saying it's good. I say decent. And you're also trying to figure out who's going to play left guard, and just you don't know. And maybe it's Lucas Patrick, and he's taken most of the reps. And I think, in my opinion, he's passed up Nick Saldiveri at this point in camp.
Lucas Patrick's the guy they signed, and I'm kind of thinking about the way that the NFL handles preseason games, and a lot of starters don't play very much at all. But it feels like Penning, Saldiveri, Patrick, a lot of these guys are going to have to play in preseason games so they can get a sense of who they need to put out there. Am I right? Yeah,
absolutely. They all need to play, and they all need to play well in these padded practices and in these preseason games. They got to figure it out. I keep mentioning this over and over. I'm pounding it into the ground that he cannot get sacked 30-plus times again this year. He can't get hit close to 50 to 60 times. He's going to get hurt again, and the offense isn't going to work. Now, this offense is tailored around Derek Carr and these receivers and quarterbacks, the West Coast offense, to get the ball out quicker, but there are going to be times that may not work. So your offensive line is going to have to hold up, and they got to figure it out, Hunt. They really have to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, I can hear it in your voice, and I've read up a little bit on this. Certainly, we're not out in Irvine, but it feels like the offensive line, while everything is positive right now, it's a positive time of the year where you're not going to just absolutely crush teams and position groups right now in the first day of August, but it feels like the offensive line's been a big concern.
Yeah, all of us. I mean, I'm not the only one. I think everyone here has had concerns about that offensive line. I mean, you've seen the flashes from the usuals from McCoy, Ruiz, and even Fuaga, who's he's probably had a handful of bad snaps. So there's not really much negative to say about him, but like as a whole, it just hasn't been great. I mean, I think we all knew we weren't going to expect great, but at some point in time, this team has to at least become good along that offensive line for the offense to be good.
Is there an injury that you're more concerned with than another, whether it's Lattimore, whether it's Brzee, whether it's Saul DeVary, whether it's Kendre Miller? Like, which one's kind of got your attention right now?
I think the one I'm not worried about Lattimore, Brzee, Juwan Johnson. Those guys were working off to the side yesterday, and they're watching practice. I mean, and they'll be back. Those aren't major injuries. I'm a little concerned about Kendre Miller.
Yeah,
I really am concerned because you can hear it in Dennis's voice after that first practice when Kendre Miller hurts his hamstring within a few minutes of essentially a walkthrough practice. That should not happen. That just goes to tell you that he's out of shape. He's not, taking care of his body, not hydrating the right way, and and those things. Whenever you don't, take care of your body, you're gonna get hurt. I mean, it's plain and simple. You're a little bit overweight, you're gonna get hurt. So the frustration's there. Best ability is availability, and he's not available. And they need that next running back behind Alvin and Jamal Williams, and it's just not happened so far for him. He has the talent. He showed flashes and glimpses last year, but he's got to get healthy, and then on top of that, stay healthy in order to be productive. They need him. They need him in this offense, and he's got to wake up. Truly has to wake up.
Let's flip over to the defensive side. It appears from reading and watching some things on Twitter that Chase Young has kind of been a standout in the limited action that he's seen. What's been your perspective of the big defensive end?
Reading is a good thing to do, Hunt, by the way. Yes, look, stood next to him yesterday, at the podium. I'm like, my God, the guy is a physical monster. I did not know how big he was until I just stood there listening to him talk, and I was like, this guy's like a Greek god. He's big. He's since he put the pads on, that's whenever everything started ramping up for him Monday when the pads went on for the first time. Got 3 or 4 snaps. Then it went up to 5 or 6. Then he got close to 10. And it's just look, he's been in the backfield on almost half of his snaps with team drills. He is just, I know it's the offensive line, and the offensive line has issues, but he's eating them alive. He's getting back there, and he's getting back there with ease. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen against better offensive lines, but it's Chase Young, and we've known throughout his entire career that he's been very good. And if anything tells you that he's going to continue being much better. And the one thing he said yesterday, he doesn't know where he's at percentage-wise in terms of physicality and his health, but he says give him a month, let him knock off that rust, and I think you're going to see some a better version of Chase Young. And look, I'm not doubting him. The guy, like I said, looks the part, and he plays the part when he's healthy. So I would think that the Saints are going to be in good shape along that defensive line. Another area of concern, going into the season, they need production. They need more sacks. So maybe he's that guy. Carl Anderson can't be the only guy, and a healthy Cam Jordan has to do better than he did last year than 2 sacks.
I've used this preface every time I've asked this question. I've asked it a couple of times. I don't think that the backup quarterback battle is very important in terms of the Saints' 1-loss record this year. I do think it's entertaining. So what's your gauge been on the Spencer Rattler versus Jake Haener battle early on?
Let's start with social media because everyone loves social media.
Sure.
Hunt. Anytime I post a video of Spencer Rattler, he's the number 1 quarterback. That's anytime it gets the 100,000 views of QB number 1, he's going to pass Derek Carr. Please, let's slow down a little bit. Derek is as sad as things were last year. I think Derek Carr has had quietly a really good camp, and I think it's Derek Carr, and then that just says it all. I think Jake Haener is having a good camp. I mean, when you get a guy who's in his second year, and then you get a rookie, you're going to see a lot of mistakes. Plus, they're learning a new offense. I think the slight edge is to Jake, just because he's been in the league 1 extra year. But I mean, Spencer shows flashes. He's got that arm, but there's some throws that you're like, why throw that ball? Don't roll right and throw across your body. This is the biggest mistake every young quarterback tries to make is roll right and throw left, and we've seen it a few times in practice. But there have been a few throws where he launches down the field to Mason Tipton, and it's beautiful. So it's about there's a lot of hit and misses with Spencer Rattler. But I think Jake is the consummate professional. He's sometimes, in control of the offense, but, it's the backup quarterback, man.
It is. It's not that important, but it's interesting.
No, everyone loves to talk about it just because it's Spencer Rattler. That's pretty much it.
If you're looking for video from Saints camp every single day, Sharif Ishak's got you covered on Twitter at Sharif Ishak. With us usually every Thursday. Tuesday. Made some time for us on Thursday today, so we appreciate a little bit of it. Enjoy your TV watching. Get back to work tomorrow, all right?
Yeah, man. Hopefully I get back on track with Tuesday. And let's see what Tuesday brings us when I get back home, because I leave Monday.
All right, good deal. We'll look forward to Tuesday then. Safe travels.
All right, Hunt.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU. He's out in Irvine covering the New Orleans Saints. Speaking of the Saints, great honor for one of their coaching staff members who was better known for his time on the field. We'll talk about that coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy, evolvept.com. Robbie Bolton, almost 20 years as a physical therapist right here in Baton Rouge, looking for active people who are not able to be their active selves at this very moment. Whether you've been injured in a car accident, whether you've been injured playing sports, whether you slept wrong and are dealing with some pain, you can get back to being your active self with Robbie Bolton's help. Maybe you've had a poor experience in physical therapy. Got hurt, doc sent you somewhere, you went, they handed you a piece of paper with some exercise on it, said we'll see you next week. That's not going to be your experience at Evolve Physical Therapy. They're going to be with you every single step of the way, helping you out, whether it's soft tissue manipulation, dry needling, cupping, scraping, isokinetic testing. They'll make sure that you get back to being your active self. Could be a youth athlete in your family. You talked about having an 8-year-old gymnast that got hurt in the gym and wanted to get back to doing the things she normally did. They got her back right. If you're a 65-year-old that's looking to get back on the golf course, if you're dealing with pain, he can help you as well. It's helped Kevin Gosman, helped Austin Nola, a number of professional athletes, and he's right here in Baton Rouge and is happy to help you. You can check him out, Starring near Highland Road. Again, that's Starring Lane near Highland Road. Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, evolvept.com.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local.
The Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert. Mornings from 7 to 10 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Very, very cool honor for one of the best New Orleans Saints ever, Jari Evans. It was announced today that he will go into the Saints Ring of Honor. That will happen at the Browns game in Week 11. That'll be a noon kickoff. And he will go in to join the folks that have been the faces of this organization. Archie Manning, Ricky Jackson, Willie Roaf, Morton Anderson, Tom Benson, Will Smith, and Sam Mills. And it's very well earned. Jari Evans was a four-time first-team All-Pro at guard. He and Carl Nicks were the best guard tandem in the NFL. And when you've got a quarterback that stands about 5'10", and he needs a launching point to be the most productive passer in the NFL, you better have a couple guys on the interior that are bad dudes. And Jari Evans was a bad dude. They found him at Bloomsburg College, brought him in, and he was an absolute star. And I believe should be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. When you consider the fact that he was first-team All-Pro 4 times, the best player at his position 4 consecutive years, that to me is very, very loud. You can roll up 10 Pro Bowls being a really good player. And Jari Evans was a 6-time Pro Bowler. But to be the best in the league 4 years in a row is amazing. And I was looking frantically just at random players that have been 4-time All-Pros. I was trying to Google people, and I finally found one. It was the third person I Googled thinking, okay, Charles Woodson was a 4-time first-team All-Pro. Like, that's the company that you're keeping. And I think he should be a Pro Football Hall of Famer and certainly is worthy of going to the Saints Ring of Honor, a star in that run of Saints dominant play early on in his career. Obviously, that was you were a young pup there, Jordan Kitchens, but he was a fantastic player, and this is well earned.
I mean, very well earned. Next stop is Ken.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
No. I mean, you don't even got to think. It's gonna take some time because some guys that's above him, I feel like that need to go in there. But
it takes guards usually a little bit longer sometimes.
I looked at Faneca. Faneca was a 6-time All-Pro. It took him a second. So it may take a little bit, but like you mentioned, 4-time first-team All-Pro, 1-time second-team All-Pro, and then a 6-time Pro Bowler and a member of the All-Decades team. That to me is
member of the All-Decade team speaks for itself because what we're talking like early 2000s or the 2000s decade team. Well, one of those.
2010s.
Yeah, 10s.
Regardless, still stellar players at his position and who's on those teams. So great career for Jari Evans.
Who's after Jari Evans in your opinion? Well,
Breeze. Saints-wise?
Breeze is next. Breeze going to the Saints Hall of Fame, but he'll go into the Ring of Honor as well. Yeah. He's not there yet. That's a bad question, but I would guess maybe next.
Marcus Colston? Did you already say his name?
No,
he's
Colston never made a Pro Bowl.
But you said the Saints Hall of Fame.
I'm talking about the Ring of Honor. They're different. Hall of Fame, the Ring of Honor is exclusive. That's the best of the best.
Yeah.
Breeze will go in. Cam Jordan will go in eventually, but he's still playing, so it's not him. I don't think Carl Nicks is that.
Marcus Colston.
You think?
Yeah. I'm not talking like the NFL. I'm talking like, the Saints. Yeah, for sure.
He deserves it.
All-time great Saint. All-time great receiver.
He's an all-time great Saint. Yeah. And I'm probably underselling him here, but I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate. If Marcus Colston played for the Jets, I just don't think he has much of a career at all. I think Marcus Colston, while a really good player, was a product of Drew Brees. And I would listen to you come back to me and say, well, this is the Saints Ring of Honor, and he played for the Saints with Drew Brees. That's all I need to hear. Like, he's Saints royalty.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily put him in that class of player.
We should get some names and figure this out. Get some names together.
Yeah.
That'd be a good segment.
It is. We'll talk about that. But it's very well deserved for Jari Evans, who will go in Week 11 into the Saints Ring of Honor. If you missed any of our first segment, including my LSU football practice report, you can catch that all on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can certainly find us. When we come back in the second hour, we got a lot to get to. We'll start the hour with Meet the Freshman, have some more Saints sound that we'll play, and get to some of my thoughts on LSU punt returners and pass rush 101s that I saw. Come back after Sports Center. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jari and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. At the Olympics today in the women's gymnastics all-around, Simone Biles wins gold, her 6th. That's the most for any American gymnast. And her U.S. teammate Suni Lee gets the bronze. It was the first ever matchup of former Olympic all-around champions. Also gold today in rowing for the U.S. men's 4, the first American gold in that event since 1960. The U.S. men's basketball team already through to the quarterfinals, and ESPN's Brian Windhorst says head coach Steve Kerr has one message for his team.
This is not the NBA. This is not the soap opera. This is not drama. What we have here is a chance to win a gold medal over the course of 2.5 weeks. There's only a chance of 6 possible games, and he's going to change his lineup whoever fits the best in those each individual games. He's not going to care if a player gets upset.
Brian Windhorst. Gordon Hayward announces his retirement from the NBA after 14 years. He played for the Hornets and the Thunder last season.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Friday, we close out our ESPN Rankem series with my top 5 Super Bowl contenders. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, officially working towards the weekend. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got Jacob Beck and Jordan Kitchens back there on the ones and twos. We're brought to you by Rouse's Markets every single Thursday. In the first hour, gave you my LSU football practice overarching thoughts to open things up. Heard some sound from Brian Kelly from the Baton Rouge Rotary Club. Sharif Ishak joined us from Irvine talking Saints, and we talked a little Jari Evans there going into the Saints Ring of Honor, which is fantastic for him. We got a little more Saints to do later on in this hour, and I've actually got some thoughts on LSU's, the guys that were catching punts today, and I've also got some thoughts on some pass rush one-on-ones that I saw a little bit earlier this morning. Matt Moscone is going to have a lot more when After Further View cranks up from Tallulah in the Renaissance 1 hour from right now. He was watching a lot of offense today. I watched a lot of defense, so a lot of what we talked about in the first hour was defense heavy, and we're actually going to stay on the defensive side of the ball here for a little episode of Meet the Freshman.
Meet the Freshman. Freshmen, meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
We've knocked 4 off the list. Juwan Johnson and Jelani Watkins to open things up back on Tuesday. Trey'Dez Green and Gabe Relaford yesterday. I wish I would have waited a little bit to see Trey'Dez Green because apparently he put on a show today. I didn't see all of it, but it sounded really good. Matt will have more on that coming up. But we have a couple of guys from the defensive backfield today. Joel Rogers is where we'll start. Joel Rogers is a safety from right here in the Baton Rouge area, West Feliciana. He's a St. Francisville native. He was rated 4 stars by all of the recruiting services, the number 8 player in the state of Louisiana from On3. Joel is a really good athlete. He played 4 sports in high school. One of them was track. He ran a 22.4 in the 200 meters. He also long jumped 22 feet 7 inches. He's a really, really good athlete and a physical specimen. He is part of a log jam at safety right now. I know that LSU safety play has not been great over the last year, but there's still a ton of guys that can play safety. It's Major Burns, it's Sage Ryan, it's Jordan Gilbert, Juwan Johnson can play safety, Jordan Allen's been out there. We've seen Deshaun Spears, Kylan Jackson, Austin Osbury came back in, and you throw Joel Rogers in there as well. We saw the first team today. We saw the second team today. Joel Rogers did not participate in any of that, and I think he's a little ways away from getting to the field. But the point here is to cultivate some depth and some guys that can be impact players moving forward. Major Burns is going to be gone after this year. Sage Ryan may move on after this year. Jordan Gilbert could move on after this year. We'll see. And then you never know what's going to happen in the transfer portal. So I feel good about the fact that Deshaun Spears and Joel Rogers were in this class as big-time Louisiana safeties, right behind Kylan Jackson, who was a big-time Louisiana safety. Rogers is not the big 6'3", potentially 220-pound safety. He's not going to look like Jamal Adams or Eric Reed out there. He's a little bit smaller, but he runs really well and he's physical. So I like this ad of Joel Rogers. I think he's a year away from helping, but I think he's a really, really good athlete, and these are the guys from the state of Louisiana that you need to get into the fold and help develop. The other defensive back that we'll talk about today on Meet the Freshman is P.J. Woodland. P.J. Woodland really stole the show in spring. He was a guy we heard about constantly. He was kind of an under-recruited player a little bit. 5'11", 165 pounds is what he's listed at, and I saw him today up close in person. He's not much more than that if he is. He doesn't weigh 185. He just doesn't. But he's from Hattiesburg, went to Oak Grove High School. Depending on where you looked, he was a 3-star or a 4-star. Rivals had him at a 4-star. Most had him at 3 stars. But he did everything for Oak Grove. He played offense. He played defense. He played basketball. Like, he did everything at Oak Grove. And when he played offense, he was great at it. He had 1,300 receiving yards as a junior. And he was the Mississippi Player of the Year on defense in 7A. So you talk about a guy that goes over 1,000 yards, and then he's the state player of the year on the other side of the ball. That's a guy who's a really good athlete, and he doesn't turn down a fight from anybody. And he showed up in spring football at 160 pounds and didn't back down from anybody. And that's what I think drew the coaching staff toward him. He made a lot of plays in practice in spring football. And you see him out there today, and he's out there with the twos. You had the first cornerback unit today of Sage Ryan and Ashton Stamps, and then running with the twos was J.K. Johnson, sometimes Juwan Johnson, and P.J. Woodland was out there with the twos. And I think he's a guy that will probably play some this year. Now, I told you he's skinny. He just is. I have seen guys, and trust me, I never come on here and claim to be a pro football scout or a master talent evaluator or anything of that nature. I vividly remember in my early years covering LSU going out early to fall camp and looking at Tyrann Mathieu and Rashard Robinson and looking at both of those guys and going, I don't think either one of those guys is ready to play. Tyrann Mathieu was a star as a freshman, making plays against North Carolina in his first game ever, blitzing, causing fumbles. And Rashard Robinson, his freshman year, was told to go over there and match up one-on-one with, I think, Julio Jones. And did it. Was that Julio Jones? It was a big, physical, older star receiver. It's either Mike Evans or Julio Jones. I can't remember who it was. But either way, I think Julio was earlier. So I'll go with maybe Mike Evans was who he was asked to cover. And he went out there and did it at 6'3", 130, it seemed like. So I don't know everything, but I can look right now at the LSU's cornerbacks, and I would look at P.J. Woodland and go, that's one of the smallest guys they got. But he's a really good athlete. He's got some dog in him, and he's willing to go out there and fight you. So while I do think Joel Rogers is a year away, potentially 2 years away, P.J. Woodland's probably going to be called upon to play. We don't know the health of Zy Alexander. We don't know the status of Javian Toviano for the game. I think, based on Brian Kelly telling us that he's reinstated, you can expect Javian Toviano to be ready to go in Vegas, but I don't know what the court of law is going to say. P.J. Woodland is probably going to have to go out there and play. And I don't know if I should feel great that they've found a star that's going to be ready to go as a freshman like maybe Jalen Mills was, who was a little under-recruited, or if he's going to be out over his skis like you saw maybe Ashton Stamps was last year when they didn't really have any other options and he was the young buck they had to send out there. One way or another, you gotta find somebody to go play corner, and I think they feel really good about what they've got in P.J. Woodland long term. We'll see how short term that works out. But that's your Meet the Freshman for today. Joel Rogers and PJ Woodland. Who we got on deck for tomorrow? Let's take a look at it. Colin Hurley, who we saw throw the ball a good bit today, and Weston Davis, 5-star offensive tackle, who I also got a good look at today as well. So we'll talk about those two guys coming up on tomorrow's show. How about this? I was thinking doing Saints here, but I'm kind of in a groove with LSU, and I want to stick with it. So if you're listening to some LSU football, you want to talk some LSU football, I watched a lot of one-on-one pass rush drills between offense and defense. I saw vets. Will Campbell was out there. Saw him. Saw freshmen who you hadn't seen at all. I got a good run of the gamut, and I'll go through some of the reps, who got the better of who. There was one real standout in 3 different reps that has never played for LSU before. I'll tell you who that was coming up next.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
How about a little peace of mind in your life? Peace of mind's a good thing. Boudreaux's Electrical can give you peace of mind. There is a disturbance out there in the Atlantic that's heading toward the Caribbean. There's a 70% chance of development. Looks like it should go east of us, but we know this part of the world, hurricanes are inevitable. How about when one hops into the Gulf, you know that you're not going to lose power because you've got a Generac home standby generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical. They've got true professionals that will come out. It'll be a full-time employee to do that installation. They'll do the vast majority of it underground so it doesn't look bad outside of your house. A lot of folks, myself included, take pride in the way that your house looks aesthetically. You don't want a big honking generator that doesn't look like it's in place. They will make sure that it looks aesthetically pleasing, and it gives you the peace of mind of knowing that when the power comes out, it's coming right back on, courtesy of that generator. Maybe you work from home. These afternoon showers that come through that can be a nuisance and knock your power out for 3.5 hours, you're not going to be able to be productive. Well, you can fix that with a generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa have been running things for 40 years over there. Give them a call at 985-397-1562. 985-397-1562. Ask them about the warranty. 7 to 10 years on every Generac home standby generator from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana.
Live at lunch, 11 a.m. Friday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Shout out to the folks over at Rouse's, bringing our Thursday shows each and every week. Always got fantastic deals over there at Rouse's. They can help you with your catering as well. Big group parties, not catering, but they're group parties. They got great sandwich trays, fruit trays. You're headed over to a party and want to get some food in bulk. Rouse's always got you covered there. I always enjoy going back to the butcher shop in the back. And for Burbank and Lee, it's right in the back middle of things. Got great burgers, pork chops, steaks, fillets, ribeyes, all that type of stuff is fantastic over at Rouse. If you're looking to throw something on the grill as the summer is kind of coming to an end here, they got you covered over there at Rouse's. I always remind you to download that Rouse's app as well. Makes your grocery shopping so much easier. You don't have time to run in the store, do your shopping on the app, have them do the shopping for you. You can pick it up curbside every single day over at Rouse's. All right, I was out at LSU's first practice today, and we've talked about it a good bit over the course of this hour and a half that we've been on the air. And I wanted to save a little bit for later on in the show, and that was the pass rush drills that I was able to watch today. There was probably a little bit more captivating stuff going on 7-on-7 on the other field. Matt charted all of that and is going to tell you about it in 45 minutes. If you're listening to this live, he's got a ton of great stuff there. We kind of chatted about it. I did not see almost any of that. I was watching the pass rush drills, but I got a good look at a lot of players. I got to see Gabe Relaford. I got to see Dom McKinley. I got to see Garrett Delliger and Savion Jones, and I saw Emory Jones and Paris Shan. I mean, you're talking about young freshmen. You're talking about experienced veterans. I kind of got to see all of it. To me, the biggest storyline in the pass rush one-on-ones, and keep in mind, I am very well aware, and I think you, the listener, are as well, these drills are geared toward the defense. The offensive line has the snap count to its advantage. The offensive line has the other offensive linemen to its advantage and different protections that they're going to use, and double teams are often figured out. And in this situation, you just got to block the guy one-on-one, and you're by yourself, and you got the entire field to defend. I understand it is easier for the defensive linemen to win these drills. With that said, here's what I witnessed in those one-on-ones. Gabe Relaford did a great job. He absolutely cooked Ethan Callaway and Weston Davis, two guys in his class. He made light work of those two guys in the pass rush. They kind of graduated him up to Tyree Adams, who's the second-team offensive tackle at left tackle, and they had a really good rep. It was physical. There was some push back into the backfield. I thought Adams did hold his own. Both guys got congratulations after they finished the rep. So I thought Relaford, when he was asked to play against the guys in his class, he worked them. When he graduated up, he was up to the task, and I thought was a really strong performer in drill. That was really good to see because we all think he's got a chance to be a really, really good player. I saw Dominic McKinley for one rep. He did win that rep against Bo Bordelon. He's a big dude. I looked at the roster that they handed before we went to into practice. Dominic McKinley is listed at 6'6", 315. Again, it is a lot to ask of freshmen to jump in and play on the defensive front. Quarterback, D-line, offensive line, that's really tough stuff. Maybe even corner. Like, that's really tough to do. Running back, okay, gotcha. Wide receiver, okay, gotcha. I think even safety at times, LSU's plugged some young players in there. But it's tough on the defensive front. And I don't know how much Gabe Relaford's going to play early on, but he was good today, and Dominic McKinley was good today as well in pass rush situations. I thought one of the great wins for the offense today was DJ Chester against Sean Washington. DJ Chester was playing center, as he will. He snapped the ball, and it was the only pass rush rep that I saw today where there was no movement at all into the backfield. You know, you've watched pass rush sets. Offensive tackles give way to pass block. Guards give way to pass block. And centers give way a little bit, usually. Well, not this time. DJ Chester stood up and popped Sean Washington, and I don't even know if Sean Washington crossed the line of scrimmage. And there's two parts to this. One, Bo Davis was ticked about the rep. Like, Bo Davis's defense, Brad Davis's offense. Bo Davis was ticked about that rep, and he let out an expletive, and he was not happy with that rep. The other piece is DJ Chester. Now, Charles Turner was a very, very good center for LSU. He was very cerebral. He was very important in terms of calling things. And when you're out there 2 years ago and you got two true freshmen on the tackles, like, you got to run the show. And he did a very good job of that. But Charles Turner was not DJ Chester's size. DJ Chester is listed at 6'6", 322 pounds. I don't know how much DJ Chester knows about calling and blitz pickup and protections and slide and everything. And I don't know. That goes on in the meeting rooms. That's deeper into practice. That's not my expertise. But I can tell you he's a physical dude. And he fits the profile of the Brian Kelly offensive lineman. It's long and lean and filling out and strong. And I don't know how good Sean Washington is. And I don't know how good that rep was for him or what he did wrong. But it was impressive from DJ Chester. And while you're talking about this offensive line kind of setting the tone for this team, you know what you got at the tackles, and you know what you got at the guards. You don't have to worry about Dellinger. You don't have to worry about Frazier. But Chester's the wild card, and that was the one rep I saw from him, and it was real good. And you hope that LSU offensive line is really, really stout. That was encouraging from that perspective. Emory Jones had one really good rep. He beat Paris Shand in a pass protection situation. Garrett Dellinger beat Savion Jones in a pass rep deal, and that's your first team offensive lineman. DJ Chester, Emory Jones, Garrett Dellinger, those guys won their reps, and that's what you would expect. I would be surprised if anybody beat that first team offensive line on the first day of camp. Those dudes are serious veterans. They're really good players, and they're going to be stalwarts for LSU. Gio Paez won a rep against Cohen Eccles with ease. Eccles is kind of working out as the second team center. Chester's a young player. So he's going to be the center for the foreseeable future, we think. But Eccles is a guy that they're working early in his career at center as well. He went in there, and that's a tougher gig. To snap and then do a one-on-one is really tough, which makes Chester's rep even more impressive that he was able to do that. But Eccles went out there. He's a young player. Gio Paez is the opposite of a young player, and Paez ripped through and was right in the backfield in 2 seconds. I'm hopeful that Gio Paez is a really good player. I don't know if I'm taking a ton from that rep. So that's kind of what I saw from a pass rush perspective. Really impressive stuff from Gabe Relaford. Really impressive stuff from DJ Chester. LSU's first-team offensive line did a good job. And a good win for Dominic McKinley early on against Bo Bordelon as well. The other piece that I saw that was interesting that I wanted to kind of shoehorn in here was guys that were catching punts as they started practice. Again, this was not a full special teams session or period. There was not a recover team. There was not a punt protection team. It was just the punters kicking the ball, and there were 4 guys back there catching them. And I wrote the numbers down and thought that's interesting because we know that LSU's punt return situation has been an absolute abyss, a black hole, a nightmare, just a terror for 2 years. Since Malik Neighbors muffed 2 kicks in the Superdome, LSU hasn't recovered. And now, knowing what we know about Malik Neighbors now, that was a pretty good guy to send back there. But he was muffing kicks, and then walk-ons were muffing kicks, and then Jack Besh muffed a kickoff, and they couldn't find anybody to put back there. They just panicked, and they ended up putting walk-ons back there. And I don't want that. LSU's got too many freaking good football players and freak athletes and game-changing players to send somebody back there to catch it. Now, if you've got the Heisman winner and 2 first-round picks, and you score a touchdown every time on offense, I'm not going to complain about it. So I didn't last year. I don't think LSU is going to be quite the same well-oiled machine on offense this year. That's not saying a lot. And I'd like to have the potential to make some big plays back there at punt returner. So, who's back there catching punts? Well, you knew Xavier Thomas would be back there. Xavier Thomas did this at Mississippi State. He had 2 return touchdowns for the Bulldogs. He's the first-team preseason all-league kick returner. He's a great athlete. He's explosive. He's comfortable in that role. Of course, he was back there catching punts. I like that. Jelani Watkins, I talked about him, Meet the Freshman, back on Tuesday. And that's a guy that Brian Kelly talked about at media days basically unprovoked. He was provoked in the sense that he said, who's kind of turning some heads, but he brought him up immediately, not saying, what about Jelani Watkins? And this guy is legitimately the fastest guy on the team, I think. He was Texas first place in the 200 back-to-back years. He anchored their 4x100 team. He's a freak with speed. He's going to run track at LSU, and I love him back there at punt return and kick return. Love it. Now, if he proves he can't catch the ball, he'll have to make some decisions, and I don't think he's going to beat out Xavier Thomas anyway. But the potential down the line for Jelani Watkins to be back there and do some of the things that Trendon Holiday did, who's the only player in the history of LSU football to run 2 kickoffs back, sign me up. He's already back there catching some punts. I loved to see that. Kyle Parker was back there catching some punts. And Kyle Parker made a really nice play in the 7-on-7 that I was able to see. That's a guy who was not necessarily the highest rated player in his signing class at receiver. He was a 4-star, but like you had Shelton Sampson coming in that class, and you had Jalen Brown coming in that class, and like he was the speedster, and Shelton Sampson was a 5-star, and maybe Kyle Parker got lost in the shuffle a little bit in that class, but he's a really good technician. He runs good routes, and he's a good athlete, and I was happy to see him back there potentially in a kick returning perspective. That tells me maybe he's a little bit better athlete than I thought, or maybe they think he's really good at catching the ball. Either way, I like to see Kyle Parker back there. And then the last one is not unexpected at all. It's Aaron Anderson. You thought that you had this problem solved last year when you went out and got Aaron Anderson, because he's a guy who, profiling out of Carr, was an explosive electric kick returner, kind of in the Skylar Green mold, who to me is the best punt returner I've seen at LSU. And he fumbled the first kick, and he didn't show much explosiveness on the kickoffs that he returned, and he basically lost that job. And so now you look up and you go, okay, well, guess we got to look elsewhere. And maybe he can work his way back into the fold there, but to this point, that hasn't necessarily happened. So I think Aaron Anderson is still a guy I want to pay attention to, but I'm kind of looking at some of the other guys as potential. Really, this conversation may not hold a ton of water because Xavier Thomas may do all this and it's just his gig, but I'm intrigued by Jelani Watkins down the road. I like Kyle Parker as a player, and Aaron Anderson still, potentially maybe a year further removed from that injury, is more explosive than the guy that we saw last year. But those were the 4 guys back there catching punts. That doesn't mean that's all the options, but right there, this is actually at the point in practice where we were actually up on the patio area where we got removed from, but that was one of the things I was able to take in from there, and wanted to pass that along. Xavier Thomas, Kyle Parker, Jelani Watkins, and Aaron Anderson out there catching punts.
On the inverse, who was kicking the punts? Because I haven't really heard Brian Kelly say, I don't know if anyone's asked him, but it seems like maybe Peyton Todd has had issues with punting. So
Peyton Todd has had issues with punting. There's no question about that. He's in a competition right now with Blake Auchendorf, who came in from Louisiana Tech, who was an all-conference punter. Blake Auchendorf, you should hang out with him. He's 6'7",
okay. So
y'all could talk about that. But yeah, there's definitely a competition, and I don't know who was punting. Probably both of them. They were really far away. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. That would have been a bad situation if that's where we were standing all of camp. You were obstructed from like 25% of one of the fields. Everybody was really far away, and all the media were jammed into one place. And you can imagine this patio is only 12 yards deep. Like, trying to jam everybody in there, especially if they're all going to one field. Like, you can't, like Glenn West is like 6'9". He could see over all of us. He'd have been fine. I'm an average height dude. I can't see squat. So it was a bad spot. We were down on the field for the rest of it, and that was a good thing. So there we go. That's all the practice notes that I've got for today. But rest assured, Matt will have a ton of that from 3 to 6 coming up on AFR from Tallulah. Speaking of AFR from Tallulah over at the Renaissance, I'm going to head there after the show. A lot of our station's going to be there. If you're in the area, want to come by and grab a cocktail and talk some football, we'd love to have you. We're going to make some exciting announcements from Tallulah today, and it's going to be a fun time there with a lot of the folks from the Guarantee family. So listeners are welcome to come on by from 5 to 7 out at the Renaissance in Tallulah. It should be a good time. Matt's going to be doing his show there from 3 to 6. So we're fired up to be out there this afternoon. All right, when we come back, we'll talk some more Saints on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this summer for exciting live sports action. We got the biggest screens around, and ESPN Bet is live in Louisiana. Plus, Penn Play Rewards members can win up to $500 in Penn cash every single week if you visit PennPlaySports.com PIN.com/cover5. It's a fantastic new program that they've got over at the PIN app. You're going to want to get your feet wet in time for football season because it's going to be a really cool thing that they're doing every week during football season where you can play and you can win. If you're not a member, no big deal. You can get the PIN Play app today. LeBair's Baton Rouge Casino is your live sports headquarters. Bring your crew for all the action. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 877-770-STOP.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR from Tallulah inside the Renaissance Hotel. LSU opens up fall camp. I'll be in that number. We'll have a full camp report for you. So join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Look, I don't know if anybody thinks that Dennis Allen is the most interesting soundbite in town. I think most would suggest that he's not, and that's okay. You can be the most boring guy in the world. If you win a bunch of games, nobody cares. Bill Belichick, not a great quote. Doesn't treat the media incredibly well. Greg Popovich, not an awesome quote. But that's fine. Doesn't matter. You win a lot of games, it doesn't really matter. Dennis Allen just needs to win. But all that said, at times you hear a quote and you go, he's telling the truth there. And he said something yesterday that I thought was probably very much the truth. And so we'll kind of lead with that.
Third day in a row in pads, so I thought, practice was a little bit chippy today, which, isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think our guys are competing, and I think the execution, overall was as good as we needed it to be today, but, that's kind of to be expected a little bit throughout training camp. You're going to have some of these days, and so how do we respond? We'll have a day off tomorrow. How do we respond and come back and have a good practice on Friday? I still think we got some things accomplished. I just don't think it was quite as clean as what I would have liked for it to be.
And that's probably very upfront. Like, it just wasn't the greatest day, and that's okay. You've had pads on for 3 days. You're going against the same dude for 3 days, and you're kind of sick of it, and it's a little monotonous, and you just need a break. And they're not dealing with the weather challenges that LSU's dealing with, where it's 100 and it's just you get frustrated out there because it's just a little miserable in all those pads and all that heat. They've got the air conditioner rolling out there in California. But it's understandable a week into camp that things weren't awesome. I would expect things to be much better tomorrow after a day off. We got Sharif telling me that he's sitting there watching TV out in Irvine. I just talked to Luke Johnson and Kat Terrell. They're going for a nice hike out there in Irvine. Not sure what the Saints players are doing, but they're not banging skulls with other guys with pads on for the 8th day in a row. So I think that you would expect tomorrow should be a little bit cleaner. Dennis Allen was talked about, okay, well, do you have a conversation about these fights? Because you got like 3 or 4 that are kind of getting into it over the last couple of days.
Yeah, I think that's a constant conversation that needs to be had. And look, we're in training camp. I don't know that I've ever been in a training camp where there's not some of that goes on. And in particular, when you've had 3 straight days padded practices hitting against the same people. So there's some of that's to be expected. And obviously we can't let it get escalated because you can't do that in the game. And so I think that's just a constant thing that we're talking about and discussing. And look, I think relative to a lot of places I've been, we've been pretty clean in that area. So
my perspective on fights sucks because I don't understand fights ever. I've never been in a fight. I'm never going to get in a fight. I'm non-confrontational by nature. I don't really care what people say. Fights I don't get. Now, I'm not in hand-to-hand, helmet-to-helmet combat with another guy very often or never, so I can't quite put myself in that perspective. But, I never know when a fight is just fine, get after it, it's part of camp, or when a fight is, hey, you need to sit out of practice because you're disrupting everything we're trying to get done.
Well, I remember I think it was Trevor Penning's rookie year where he was having issues where he was getting into fights frequently with guys, and they talked about it a good bit after practice in the media times. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but I think they either gave him maybe a day off, but something with that. So it was obviously he was having some issues with just controlling his emotions. So,
and look, Joe Burrow got into a fight prior to the 2019 season. Everybody, or maybe it was 18, and everybody loved it. Everybody thought it was the greatest thing ever. So I don't. My perspective on that absolutely sucks. I will defer to Dennis Allen, who's out there all the time. He seems to think this is fine. Guys being competitive. We want to be physical. We want guys to want to win, want to get the better of the guy on the other side. And it makes things a little easier from that perspective when you get into a joint practice and then you're dealing with somebody that you don't go against every single day. But even those spar generally have a lot of fights as well. So it's just part of camp. Just is what it is. This is interesting injury information that I hadn't heard discussed over the first week. We talked to Sharif back in the first hour about Juwan Johnson and the fact that he was out there, kind of working with the strength and training staff off to the side. And Dennis Allen provided an update on where the Saints tight end is.
Yeah, I'm not getting into any timelines on anybody. I mean, certainly there's a process that goes along with recovery. And when guys get out here and you start seeing them working with the trainers and they're doing land-based training, then they're getting closer to being able to come out here and start participating in football activities. So exactly how long that takes, it remains to be seen.
I chuckled at the beginning of that bite with I'm not going to get into timelines because the New Orleans media has been given misinformation on timelines by both of their professional franchises over and over and over and over again. And I've talked to Sharif about this and I've talked to Luke about this, and the Pelicans are just flat done giving timelines on Zion this and BI that, because every time they do it, it could be 4 weeks, and then 4 weeks have come and gone, and there's no practice and there's no nothing, and then the media is going, what's going on, and the fans are going nuts, and everybody finally said, you know what, we're not doing timelines anymore because we don't know, and we'll just let you know when they're active. And so it's just been
ridiculous.
It's time and time and time again. And so you know what, and this goes right with my I don't really care what you say in press conferences. I'm good with Dennis Allen saying, we're just done with timelines. I'll let you know when he's ready to go. And that's completely fair. I realize as a fan, you want to know the situation, but sometimes the coach doesn't know the situation because the doctor may not know the situation because every player is different. Every injury is different. And you just got to kind of, when they're ready, they're ready. And with Juwan Johnson, there's no real reason to thrust him back out there into training camp if he's not healthy right now. He's basically a veteran in the league at this point. He's been around. And when he's ready to go, he's ready to go. I'm curious how the Saints tight end room shakes out because it's different than most tight end rooms in the NFL because you've got Juwan Johnson, who's a little bit undersized and kind of comes from a wide receiver background. You've got Taysom Hill, who whatever the heck he is, and then you've got Foster Moreau, who's a little bit more traditional, if not the most productive player at that position for New Orleans. So DA talked about what he thinks of the tight end situation.
Well, look, I mean, obviously not having Juwan makes it look a little bit different. You know, I think Foster's done a good job with the things that we're asking him to do. Holker's the guy that's kind of caught my eye a little bit in terms of, you know, doing some things in the passing game. You know, I think it's an area that we still have to improve on. You know, when you look at the guys that we have out there right now, we've got one guy that's, you know, proven that he's got the ability to play in this league at a certain level, and then we've got a lot of other guys that are trying to prove that they belong, you know, and so I think that's where the process is at the tight end position right now.
With as little as we see from starting players in preseason games, they can be boring. They can. You're talking about a lot of guys that are going to get cut out there. How exciting is that to watch? Not super exciting. But I do think when you look at this position, Dallin Holker is a guy that should be an interesting watch in preseason games because he should get a lot of reps. You're not talking about a guy that's super valuable to the team right now. There are 3 guys ahead of him at the depth chart. But he's fairly young. He's very old for a rookie, but he's fairly young. He's cheap, and he may have a skill set that you need. Taysom Hill's a unicorn a little bit, and I don't know that Foster Moreau is going to be an all-pro this year. If you can find somebody that's young that might be able to help you, I think that's interesting. And I'm glad that Holker was mentioned there in the group at tight end. And I'm curious to watch him in preseason games and what we get reported on from joint practices as far as tight end goes. So interesting thoughts on the tight end room. The last piece here that I wanted to get to from Dennis Allen's sound is Isaiah Foskey. I've talked about Isaiah Foskey at length on this show, really only in training camp, but at length, just saying like I was shocked at how quickly and how universal the thought on Foskey was he's a long way away last year at this time. I mean, anybody you talked to that was out at Saints camp was like, yeah, Foskey's not ready to go. And it was quick. It wasn't like after 2 preseason games. It was like after 6 practices. And that's not great for a second-round pick. You don't necessarily expect your second-round pick to start in and make the Pro Bowl his first year, but you'd like him to help. And Foskey just didn't flat help. So the question was, has he taken any sort of step, any sort of leap, any sort of momentum building towards him getting to the field?
Yeah, but I want to see him take a jump. You know what I mean? And so I think that's where we're at. I have seen some improvement out of the player, and yet I think my vision for him is more than what we've gotten to this point. And I think that's part of the process. That's not to say that I'm not pleased with what I've seen. I just know there's more in there, and we're going to continue to try to work to get, you know, everything out of him that we possibly can. And so, but in terms of at the start of training camp, from where we were, call it even at the end of last season to where he is now, there's been progress.
Spoiler alert. Next Friday, when I talk about the Saints preseason game and what I'm watching for, Foskey's going to come up and Holker's going to come up because I think those 2 guys will definitely play next Saturday in that preseason game. So that's your Saints catch up for today. If you're missing our Saints content and you want to catch it on demand, all of it is right there at Hunt on Saints. You can search for that, subscribe to the channel. All the Saints news will come into your feed immediately. They're cut down into 10-minute segments. You don't have to scroll through the show to find them. All of our Saints content right there at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Appreciate you subscribing up to that channel. By that token, you can do a Hunt on LSU as well for all your LSU football wants and needs. All there on YouTube. We'll take one more time out, come back, close up shop here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to a championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place where you can find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBears Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, the Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Musco.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us on
The Bench with Jacob Hester and T-Bob Hebert. Mornings from 7 to 10 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
.104.5 ESPN and Citizens Bank and Trust are looking for the ultimate tailgate. Snap a pic of your setup and upload it to 1045ESPN.com for a chance to win a $500 Rouse's gift card. Our judges will select a winner on August 29th. That is just 4 weeks from now. It's the ultimate tailgate giveaway from Rouse's Markets, Citizens Bank and Trust, and 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. And we also have Rev delivering our coverage live from Las Vegas starting August 30th. with Off the Bench and After the Further Review, and continuing Sunday, September 1st with Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Our coverage is also presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Watch us live on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel. Kick off the 2024 LSU football season live from Las Vegas with Rev and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
All right, LSU's back on the practice field tomorrow. I will be there for the entirety of it, and so we'll have another practice report at the top of the show tomorrow. Looking forward to getting back out there. They are underway. Today, I spent more time on the defense, so if you look back on my show today, you'll see a lot of defense. If you listen to Matt coming up here in 10 minutes, you hear a lot of offense from Matt. He saw a lot of good stuff on 7-on-7 as well. So looking forward to his show coming up from Tallulah in the Renaissance. Invite y'all to stop on by. We'll be hanging out and having some drinks between 5 and 7 out there at Tallulah, and got some exciting things to talk about as well. So very excited to get over to Matt's show here coming up when I finish things up in about 6 minutes from right now. But before we do that, we got to play Take It or Leave It.
Alrighty, first one here. 84-year-old Joanne Big Mama Carter fired an 80 today at the U.S. Women's Senior Open. She beat her age by 4 shots, 80 at 84. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. That's fantastic. I'm not going to be doing it. I will not be shooting an 80 at 84 years old.
So,
that's just simply not going to happen. I don't think I'm going to be here at 84 years old, quite frankly.
That's a terrible
way to...
I don't like that. Don't say that.
I mean, it could, but it just doesn't seem likely.
What do you mean it doesn't seem likely? The average age is like 78.
I like hammering some cheeseburgers. I like a good scotch. I'm not gonna go vegan and run 4 miles every day and try to live that. It's probably not gonna happen.
I mean, you're being healthy right now.
I am. We'll talk about that in a second. But 84, maybe I'll make it. But I'm certainly not gonna be shooting 80 when I'm 84.
Oh, you're gonna make it.
I'll be posted up right there on watching the Cubs. That's probably what I'll be doing.
Beers and cheeseburgers, hard to pass up.
I'm not gonna pass them up.
Speaking of the Cubs, they've agreed to terms with Motorola and have added a patch to their sleeves. It debuted at Wrigley today. The uniform czar. Take it or leave it. I think you're going to leave it, huh?
I'm going to leave it. I don't think it looks good at all. Here's the thing. I will come to terms with this if they go take the dollars that Motorola gives them
and use them to buy some players that actually win games.
Get someone that can hit the ball.
Hey, well,
get someone that can pitch the 9th inning.
They had a lot of hits in the last game against the Reds, huh? They had
after they lost the first 2 games, a bajillion to 1.
And they used all their. I think they used up all their hits for this month in that game. They had about 16.
No, that was actually last month because it was July.
That's true.
So now we got plenty of.
Okay, you're right.
It looks terrible. I already know that LSU is going to come out of the tunnel with a patch here sooner or later. That's just destined to happen. I will admit fully that if I'm sitting in the press box in Tiger Stadium and they've got a patch on their helmet or something, I'm not going to be able to see it.
No.
But part of my enjoyment of the game, it's a small part, but it's a part, is the beauty of the uniforms that come out there. The Cubs in their pinstripes at home look absolutely sublime. They're going to look a little bit worse with a Motorola M on their sleeve, and it just is what it is. But if you're going to do it, then take the dollars and give me someone to pitch the 9th and give me someone to hit the ball over the fence, please.
Last one here. A cold beer today. Take it or leave it.
Take it.
I'll take it.
But not
after 4th of July, I cut off the alcohol supply. We've done 3.5 weeks.
Ooh.
We are going to get back on that saddle in about 2.5 hours from Tallulah. That's what's
all right.
I'm looking forward to that very much.
Good stuff.
We needed to.
You didn't say the beer though. You didn't say what you're looking for though.
It's gonna be a cold Bud Light, and there's no question about that. There's no doubt. It'll be delicious. It'll be refreshing. It'll be fantastic. It wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be. Shout out to the non-alcoholic beers, which I had a couple times. When I was cooking or out in the backyard, those came in clutch. I bought a 12-pack right when this started. I had 11 of them over the course of 3.5 weeks. That was good, but we need a real tall boy at this point, and we're gonna have that this evening. I'm not even gonna rule out a tall Scotch this evening.
Wow,
you're getting twisted.
Going all out.
We did a good job over the last 3.5 weeks. Cut a few pounds. It's time for a cold beer. That's just what's going to happen. If you're looking for a cold beer, you can find one at Tallulah this afternoon. Hopefully, if y'all are in the area and want to come on by, you certainly can, because Matt's going to be doing his show from there coming up from 3 to 6. That's it for our show today. I kind of went over everything that I saw big picture, including the depth chart in the first segment of the show. If you want to hear some of that with LSU's defense and where it stood today, some of the big picture things that I saw, whether it was Zy Alexander in a brace, whether it was JV and Tobiano at practice. No Braden Swinson. Depth chart, that's all in the first segment of the show. Brian Kelly was with the Rotary Club yesterday. There was some good sound from him there. Did that at 1:15. Sharif Ishak jumped on from Irvine, California, to talk Saints on their day off and his day off, so we appreciate that. He was with us at 1:30. If you missed that, you can find it at Hunt on Saints. Jari Evans is going into the Saints Ring of Honor, well-deserved. We talked about that at 1:45. Meet the freshmen, Joel Rogers and P.J. Woodland, a couple of guys in the defensive backfield at 2 o'clock. Who's returning punts for LSU? Told you who was doing that today, as well as some pass rush one-on-one breakdowns at 2:15. All that, all our practice reports are going to be posted on YouTube at Hunt on LSU if you're looking for those each and every day. And some Saints sound from Dennis Allen at 2:30 as well. We are wall-to-wall football these days. There was nothing but football on the show today, outside of Take It or Leave It, where we talked about a little baseball and a woman shooting 80 at 84 years old. But outside of that, it was all football, and you can catch it all on demand wherever you find your sound at 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, of course, on YouTube. Tomorrow, LSU's back on the practice field. I will be there in its entirety. I'll give you a practice report in the first segment tomorrow. I'll be watching a little bit more of offense. Excited to get to some of that, plus some of what Brian Kelly had to say today. I got good news for you, though. You're going to hear a lot of that coming up here in 5 minutes when Matt comes to you from after further review from Tallulah as he drives you home. I'm fired up for tomorrow's show, talking some Saints, talking some LSU, and getting ready for the weekend. We have made it. Football practice is in full swing, and we're fired up that you're listening to us and hanging out each and every day. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place. Hope to see you at Tallulah this afternoon. It's on Palmer Show.